Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock something that honestly usually feels like a complete mystery to the general public. We're talking about the internal machinery of a government agency. Have you ever handed over a super important application or, a crucial piece of paperwork to a public office and thought, where exactly does this go? Well, today we are opening up that black box. We're going to map out the comprehensive, step-by-step process flow for handling clients and documents, specifically at the DHSUD Region 10 Records Unit. And I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to see just how structured, efficient, and surprisingly human this entire bureaucratic journey really is. To guide us on this journey, here's our roadmap. We'll be looking at 1. Submitting your documents. 2. Interview and pre-evaluation. 3. ZBP versus non-ZBP tracks. 4. Routing and internal processing. 5. Final review and archiving. And finally, 6. Client notification and tracking. This agenda will perfectly map the lifecycle of a document, from intake to closing, keeping anxiety low for both citizens and developers. Section 1. Submitting your documents, the front door of DHSUD Region 10. So right off the bat, the submission process here is incredibly structured, but still highly accessible. When you arrive at the physical office, it's definitely not a free-for-all. Security guards serve as your first point of contact, checking for prior appointments or issued notices of conciliation before letting anyone through. But what if you don't have an appointment? Like, what if you're just a walk-in? Don't worry, the system accommodates you perfectly. The guards will simply coordinate a confirmation with the concerned official to make sure you're headed to the exact right place. And of course, we live in a modern era, so showing up in person isn't always required. Submissions are gladly accepted via traditional mail, or you can use their digital gateway by sending your documents directly to region10@dhsud.gov.ph. It's a secure, heavily vetted, but totally welcoming first step. Section 2. Interview and pre-evaluation. Setting the right path. Okay. So once you've successfully passed through that front door, your document moves to the initial assessment stage. This is where you have your first real, substantive human interaction. You'll sit down with the Public Assistance and Complaints Desk Officer, or the PACDO for short. They conduct a brief interview to figure out your exact needs, and then, this is key, they log your details directly into the agency's e-logbook to determine the proper division for your daily transactions. Notice how streamlined that is. It's digital right from the very first desk. You won't find any confusing old jargon or outdated physical paper trails slowing you down. The intake is immediate and designed to get your transaction moving perfectly from minute one. Now, before we look at how those documents are evaluated, we absolutely have to define a term that dictates the rest of this workflow: ZBP. ZBP stands for the Zero Backlog Program. This is a massive, strategic initiative within the agency to make sure documents don't just sit on a desk gathering dust. It guarantees efficient, digitally tracked processing. Knowing whether a document falls under ZBP or not changes literally everything about how it moves through the building, so keep that in the back of your mind. So what actually happens next at the pre-evaluation desk? Well, evaluators take your file and do a really rigorous check for completeness. Right at this moment, your application is categorized into either the ZBP track we just talked about or the non-ZBP track. If your documents are incomplete, the process stops right there and the files are immediately returned to you for correction. Think about how crucial that is. This step actively protects you from paying non-refundable processing fees for an application that would just get rejected later anyway. It saves you time and money. If, however, your documents are perfectly complete, it triggers an order of payment and you can proceed directly to the cashier to pay your fees. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Section 3, ZBP versus non-ZBP tracks, the crossroads. The moment that payment clears, your document takes a literal fork in the road. This is the crossroads of the entire system, where we see two totally distinct paths operating at the exact same time. The ZBP track is a highly digital pathway. It requires scanning the application forms and uploading them to both the regional and national systems. On the flip side, we have the non-ZBP track. This one is the traditional, physical route. It skips the digital uploads entirely and relies purely on the manual, hand-to-hand routing of your physical folders directly to the concerned divisions. Section 4. Routing and internal processing, the inner workings. Let's actually leave the public-facing lobby for a second and head deep into the inner workings of the records unit. You know, it's so easy to think of a government agency as this faceless, automated machine. But in reality, it's run by real people, handling your specific paperwork. Once those fees are paid, PACDO staff members, R10 or PRING, officially receive the documents. If your file is on that digital ZBP track, a team member named Apollonio steps in to scan all your application forms. Then R10 takes those digital files and uploads them to the regional ZBP system. Meanwhile, Princess over at the Office of the Regional Director, or ORD, processes the local routing to the concerned divisions, while also making sure it gets uploaded to the national ZBP system. It's like a highly choreographed relay race happening every single day. Section 5, Final Review and Archiving, the finish line. And this brilliantly illustrates the strict chain of custody required to finalize official government business. After the designated division does its specialized work, the document heads toward the finish line. In the first step, Sharika Dayak at the ORD receives the processed outgoing documents. For the second step, the files are placed on the desk of the regional director, who does the final review and provides that official binding signature. In the third step, the signed documents are handed to Records Officer Tibin Luke Gareen Kurig. He meticulously logs them, stamps them, and prepares them for official release. And finally, in the fourth step, to make sure nothing is ever lost, the files are securely scanned and archived straight into the permanent records storage room. Section 6, Client Notification and Tracking, Closing the Loop. So, the document has finished its internal journey. It's signed, sealed, and archived. But how do you, the client, actually find that out? Well, the communication loop here is wonderfully straightforward. Step 1. You just wait for a direct phone call or an official email notification from the records unit. No need to constantly refresh some confusing web portal. But hey, what if you want to check in before they call? Step 2. You just contact the office and provide your full name. Step 3. You provide the subject of your document, and that is it. I really want to highlight how amazing this is. There are absolutely no convoluted 20-digit alphanumeric tracking numbers required here, just your name and your subject. By stripping away those complex tracking codes, DHSUD Region 10 has made their system remarkably accessible and stress-free for the public. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating thought to ponder. We've just seen how a highly complex bureaucracy can securely track, process, and archive thousands of critical documents, all while letting the citizen follow up using nothing more than their own name and a simple subject line. So, if DHSUD Region 10 can achieve this level of user-friendly efficiency through organized digital and physical tracks, how might other government agencies simplify their own front-facing systems? It really proves that rigorous security and public convenience don't have to be mutually exclusive. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this process. Keep this explainer in mind the next time you submit a form, and I'll catch you on the next one.